Wait, is this the thumbnail? This is gonna be the thumbnail. This shirt makes me look buff. Hi everyone! In today's side quest, we are ranking all of Los Angeles's anime conventions. We're gonna do like a let's rank, so this is gonna be a tier list. So how I'm gonna talk about each of these conventions or events is I'm going to explain what month relatively they are in, where they are, like general city, district, or venue, a mild description if you will, because I don't want to like take up too much time for each, some pros and cons, and some points from a cosplayer's point of view, because I do cosplay and I have a lot of cosplaying and photographer friends in the con community because of that. So I think that is where a lot of my experience and point of view will come from. If you're new here, I'm Kaiyuke and I am a cosplayer, an anime art and figure collector, and also a pole dancer. I made this YouTube channel to share my silly little anime related hobbies. As someone who was born and raised in Los Angeles and whose first anime convention was Anime Expo in 2006, and that was like the only anime convention I had to look forward to every summer, it's pretty insane to see how many anime conventions we have in Los Angeles now. But I highly recommend checking any of these out that I mentioned today. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts and experiences with these events or conventions if you've gone to any of them, or which one your favorite one is. So Anime Los Angeles tends to be the first or second week of January every year, and it used to be held in the Ontario Convention Center, but I think in the last year or two moved to the Long Beach Convention Center, which I actually really love more. The venue is bigger, but there's also a lot of outdoor space and a variety of places, at least for a cosplaying and photography point of view, to do cute shoots and cosplay meetups. I would say Anime Los Angeles is one of my favorite conventions. It does have something unique to it where it is ribbon heavy. So if you've never been to Anime Los Angeles or a ribbon con, so pretty much vendors and con goers or anybody who's attending can make their own ribbons, and I think there's general rules and guides to them that are posted on ALA's website. You can do pretty much like little side quests to get ribbons, and they're like tiny challenges. That's actually how I think it started, but sometimes people just give out ribbons if you are cosplaying a certain character. So this past weekend I was with my friend Bleach characters, and then another day we were panty and stocking, so people gave us ribbons for cosplaying those characters. So Anime Los Angeles is 4 days. I feel like it used to be 3, so it's really grown a lot in terms of venue and like number of days. Their vendor hall is really huge. I would say definitely take a whole day to look at everything if that's your thing. So I would recommend going at least 2 days if you really want to experience Anime Los Angeles. What I thought was really cool about ALA was their masquerade. I used to go a lot, and pretty much the cosplay masquerades are a way for cosplayers to showcase their cosplay and their designs and doing little skits. So the masquerade is free. I think at some conventions, especially larger ones, you have to pay a separate ticket for it. So that's what's nice about ALA. Also at ALA, you can go to their after party, which is pretty fun, on Saturday night of the con weekend. That is free also. I think the DJs and the visuals are really nice, so that was fun. Oh, another con is their weapons check was super strict. Last year I couldn't bring in my Rebecca guns, and the rule was it had to be 50% neon, which Rebecca's guns, if you're familiar with cyberpunk, are like neon pink and neon green, and they didn't let me in, so whatever. So this year I definitely didn't take any props inside, which was fine because I mostly took photos outside anyway with my friends. Some great spots for cosplayers, photographers are just straight outside the front entrance. There's this brick bridge that's really pretty. The sunset's really nice there. My friend Sahara and I actually brought out our portable stage pole. We got some pretty pics as panty and stocking and like the sunset in the background. I'll post them on the screen. So I would say it's a great hangout con, especially if you just have friends that hang out outside and cosplay. Okay, so for ALA, because of the vibes and the pretty sunset and location of just hanging out with photographers and cosplayers outside the entrance, I would rank ALA S. S tier. So the next convention usually is Anime Impulse LA, which is actually held in Pomona Fairplex, which is just a little outside of LA. I've been straying away from Impulse now just because it doesn't seem more like my vibe anymore. One, because it's becoming more VTuber heavy, which I think is super cool. VTubers are getting more attention, which if I was a VTuber fan is amazing. Personally, just never got into VTubers, and I feel like the majority of that is that con now. In terms of cosplaying there are some cute spots there. There is a cute fountain. There are some little photo op areas, but for the most part, it's like an open area where the county fair is. I will say that the great thing is that, well, one, it's really affordable. It's usually a Saturday and Sunday weekend. The main thing is that they tend to work with other events. I wouldn't say cons, but like there's this like Asian American expo, and they usually have like this 66 night style market, food vendors outside. So I usually get a lot of free samples. Other parts of the Fairplex area is also this like sneaker con. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but a lot of sneaker enthusiasts go there and buy shoes. So if you buy your ticket for Anime Impulse, you have access to all of those as well, which is pretty cool. So I would say that's a huge pro. In terms of cons of this event, I would say that I miss their performances. I feel like they don't really have a stage anymore. Also, I feel like the art vendors that they have at Impulse all kind of feel the same. It's not as diverse as I would say as other conventions. Because Anime Impulse hasn't really grown from the years that I've been attending it, since maybe 2017 is when I first went. Nothing's really changed, and I'm just not that interested personally in VTubers, but that's great. If you are, I would recommend you go, but I would rate Anime Impulse with a C. Sorry. So now we're in March. I don't think there's many anime events that go on in March, but last year I went to Hentai Dance Night. Someone was posting that they were looking for go-go dancers, and I kind of wanted to give it a shot. I used to dance in high school, and I kind of want to get back into it. I also pole dance, but it's very different from go-go dancing. It was pretty interesting because Tenga, I think, was sponsoring this event, so they had like a little booth, and there was this event where you could like, you had to press this button like at the right time to stop something, and if you were within a certain window, you got like, depending how close you are in this window, you got a prize. You could get like different types of Tenga. The event itself was like a small, I would say like old store that hasn't been rented out in the little Tokyo mall. The ventilation in that room was like really bad for me. It got really stuffy pretty easily. But other than that, I thought the music was cool. The DJs were cool. Would I go again? I think the price for this event was a little pricey. I don't know if I'd go again unless like they hired me to dance. In terms of cosplaying at this event, I would say it's not really like, oh, you go there for photography. It's pretty much like a clubbing event. I would say just if you want to cosplay, you really don't have to, but if you wanted to, just wear something comfy. Hentai Dance Night was pretty small. It was pretty stuffy. Other than dancing, which is great if that's all you're expecting, and I don't think you really need to expect much more. But since usually that's not my type of thing and I was just interested, I would rank it C. I know that it was its first time, and I think they're planning many more events, so I'm excited to see where those go. So now we're in like March, April. I think usually April is when AniFest happens, and AniFest is held in the Torrance Cultural Arts Center. I think this is a great venue because it has a beautiful Japanese garden. There's also like koi fish in the pond, which is super cute. I think the first time I went here was 2019, and then I didn't go again until like 2022 when cons were like barely opening up. I would say this is a little more maid cafe focused. I've noticed maid cafes are, I guess, becoming more established at conventions as well, because in Irvine or Orange County area, I think there's a couple actual physical maid cafes that have their own place now, which is pretty cool, and they're partnering up with a lot of events. I really love the artist alley setup. There's some outdoors and some indoors. There's also a stage outside where I personally love to watch the live bands and other acts perform. I think this convention is very pretty. There's like a wisteria wall other than the Japanese garden and koi pond. Those are some really cute spots to take photos. Because of that, I will give AniFest a ranking of B. So this next event is a mall event. This one is Anime Cult Expo, which occurred in the Del Amo Mall in Torrance, which is a pretty big mall, and I actually don't like mall events. in general, and there's a few in here that are mall events and I'll point them out, just the layout is really hard with how the mall is set up. And then two, there's just a lot of normal people and families out and about, and they just don't understand what's happening usually, and it's just not the same like vibe as an anime convention. This Del Amo mall event didn't really have that many anime artist alley vendors. There were quite a good amount of non-anime vendors, which isn't bad, but it's also a little confusing for an anime event. I guess like you would expect more anime related vendors. I don't know. I don't know. Am I just trying not to be mean? I don't know. That's not me. There was a cosplay contest, which at the time, I think this was like 2021 or 2022, so we were still masked up, and I hadn't really gone out to any cons because I was being cautious, and at this point I think I was being more open to it, so I decided to go and enter their cosplay contest because I saw the first place prize was like, I don't know, $300, and I was like, okay, maybe I could do it with my Albedo cosplay because I really like those wings. It's usually a showstopper and I made them myself, so maybe people will think it's cool. I don't know, but I was a little disappointed because the cosplay contest was mostly a popularity contest for the vendors. So you would go around and the vendors would see your cosplay and like remember who you are. I think you were given a number too, and so they would write it down. The first and second place were Danganronpa and Jujutsu Kaisen, and they were just in their school uniform that were store-bought. This one, I mean, it was just a mall event. I couldn't expect it to be that much more complicated. I got third place because people really liked the Albedo wings. So for Anime Con Expo, because of the weird mall layout, and I just didn't like mall events in general, they're just not for me, and the cosplay contest trauma, I guess, I feel like I would give them a D. Okay, this one will be a quick one because it's literally just the Renaissance Fair. And I think I just had to shout it out because I love the Renaissance Fair. The first time I went was like in the 3rd grade, and then I hadn't gone again until I was an adult. And I think that was like 2 years ago was the last time that I went since the 3rd grade. It's so much fun. It's just a very immersive themed place. All of the workers are dressed up in Renaissance gear and are in character, so they'll talk like it's the Renaissance period. The only reason I included this is because I personally haven't cosplayed here, but in terms of like actual anime cosplaying, I didn't really think about it until I met someone who's cosplaying Kazuma from Konosuba, and he was like, "Hi, Kazuma this." And I thought that was so funny, and then online I started seeing people do like Freeman group cosplays, so that was super cute. In terms of like locations for cosplay, I would say there isn't really a place where people just set up shop like at cons, and I wouldn't recommend that because people are always moving around and walking to all the different events. For the Renaissance Fair, it's super fun, not really anime, but I guess you can just make it a little bit if you want to cosplay as it, just don't cause a ruckus. For the Renaissance Fair, I would give it a score of A, even though it's not really anime related at all, but you can add just a touch of anime with your cosplay. For the Konosuba Kazuma cosplayer, I like barely noticed it because it wasn't very like obvious, so I thought that was a really special touch. Now we're in May. This next con is actually at a college, and I had never really been to any anime events at a college. This was my first time, and this was pre-pandemic. I think it was 2018 or 2019, and it was at Cal State Fullerton, and they called it Titan Con. This was the first time I've ever been to an anime event at a college, and it was really nice. They had this quad area, so there was like some steps and grass and like long sidewalks where artists were set up. I really liked the artist alley selection that they had. It wasn't huge, but it was like just enough. In terms of cosplay, I think I was doing a casual-ish cosplay when I went. There's lots of grass, which you can always make something out of. I would give that event, even though I don't think they do it anymore, a B, because I think it had some good potential. That was, I think, its first time, and I had a good time. Okay, so now we're in May for sure, and last year I attended H Night, and it was held at the Ramada Hotel or Inn in El Monte, and this was the first event that I was a cosplay performer at, and you can learn more about this event and my experience in my cosplay journey video, which I'll link somewhere. Just real quick, since I said a lot more stuff over there, H Night is an 18+ event. It was only one day. The highlights of this place was the Bunny Lounge, which you weren't allowed to take photo or video in unless unless you were like event media staff. But there were cosplayers as bunny girls in this like lounge area. They would play games with you at the tables, and this is where a lot of the main performances were, such as me and 2 other cosplay dancers, and I think like another singer and another dancer. So that was pretty fun, like for entertainment. The venue itself is pretty small, but I thought it was cute and cozy. In terms of like cosplay photo op areas, there was a cute little courtyard, but I would say that's pretty much it. So yeah, there weren't many vendors in their like artist alley or vendor hall. I guess it might be hard to find some for an 18 plus only event. So in terms of performing, I had a good time, but in terms of like the rest of it, as I was witnessing as an average con goer, there wasn't much else to do. So I would give this event maybe a D, but I think it has room for growth. Okay, so now we're in June and we are at Anime Riverside. Riverside is a bit outside of Los Angeles, but it's definitely drivable. So the same group that does Anime Riverside also does Anime Pasadena, which I'll talk about later, but it's the same group, and with their cons they tend to be very voice actor heavy, so that one's pretty cool. So last year I really loved their vendor hall. I don't know what it was, maybe it's just I hadn't gone shopping in an artist alley or like a pretty good extensive artist alley for a while at this point, but the one day that I went, I think I spent over $300, maybe almost $400. I made a YouTube short. I'll post links somewhere below if you want to see all the cute things that I bought that day. In terms of cosplay areas, there's this nice like grassy slope area. It's almost like a picnic area. You could probably bring a blanket and hang out there. I think some people do, and that's a cute place to take photos. Over there's like tall grass that I see people take photos at as well. There's also some fun like big inflatables usually at these Anime Riverside and Anime Pasadena conventions. So at this one there was like a huge armor titan. Was it Colossal Titan or Armor Titan? I think it was Colossal Titan, and you could like be in their hands, and that was really fun. I would give Anime Riverside an A because it is just a fun hangout con. I really like the location that it's at, even though it's far away. I think the spacing of it is really nice, and the outdoor area is really nice, and their artist alley selection for some reason was really nice. Also in June was Hentai Matsuri, and that was their first year last year holding it. I do know that the group that held Hentai Matsuri is already familiar with running other anime conventions in the San Diego area. So this convention is held in San Diego. This is the first time I booked a hotel for a convention because San Diego is not driving distance. And so I was able to perform. This was another event where I got to perform a cosplay performance, and here I was Hinata, and then I also did my JoJo pose challenge, which you can see all about it and hear all about it in my cosplay journey video, which I mentioned earlier. Hentai Matsuri is obviously an 18 plus convention. I think a great thing about it is like if you follow certain cosplayers that are guests, it's a pretty cool place to meet them at their booth and buy like their prints or even take photos with them, and they can also sell like Polaroids or other things from them, which is pretty great. The venue being where a hotel is, that's where I got my hotel room, makes it feel super cozy. I think another pro is that I discovered some cool bands that were doing anime covers. They had, I guess, a decent amount of artists. I'm hoping to see a more variety this year. We'll see what we can get because it is a hentai convention, so I don't know. In terms of cosplaying, it is a hotel, so you get like a lot of hotel room shots. I would say in terms of like cosplay photography areas, it's just the hall shots that you would get. The pool was a great area. For Hentai Matsuri, I would rank it an A because I just had a fun time. It was just such a cozy con because of the venue being a hotel and that I got to perform at it, and it was just like a new type of experience. I just thought it was pretty cool to explore. Still in June, we have Ronin Expo, which is a smaller event that is held in Little Tokyo. The venue at Little Tokyo that they would have it at is pretty small, and I have been noticing it growing more, and I don't know if I haven't gone like in the past few years, but that was a concern I had when it was growing. But that one was a small con. It was super cute. I liked the like events that they had. I remember going specifically to watch Core Dance Crew at the time. Other than that, it was usually a can full of like artists or vendors in like an artist alley, so nothing too big, but because of the location being in Little Tokyo, it's really fun to hang out at. Just to hang out with your friends, you can hang out in Little Tokyo. There will be other congoers and cosplayers, and Little Tokyo has a variety of like photo op spots, so if you're already familiar with the area. I would give Ronin Expo a solid B. I haven't been in a long time, but it was a small, like, fun little cozy con. Okay, so now we're in July, and usually July 4th weekend is Anime Expo. And I've been going to Anime Expo since 2006. And to see how much it has grown is, I don't even know how to put into words. I think right now it is called the largest anime convention in North America, which is insane. I remember when it was just not even its own full room in one of the halls in the LA Convention Center, and now it's the whole convention center plus things across the street. Plus last year they closed down a street which was pretty cool, and I will get to that. So actually I'll get to that right now. Big plus last year that they closed down the street and they increased the amount of entrances that you can go through, because just getting into the convention center was line con, and I would say they really streamlined it last year. I didn't have to wait at all. Weapons check was a breeze. And then in these closed street areas, there's also more things you can do. There was like a karaoke stage outside, which was fun. There was like food vendors outside. I will say that they are super expensive. I would not buy food there, sadly. But people internationally fly out to Anime Expo. I would say Anime Expo is the one that you fly out to, you get your hotel rooms, and you meet people from all over the world. So previously, when it wasn't super big yet, Artist Alley and Vendor Hall would be in one hall, but now the upstairs area is the vendor or exhibitor hall, and then the downstairs parking lot area is exclusively Artist Alley. So now I would spend maybe 1.5 days to explore those stuff. I would say a full weekend badge is definitely worth it for Anime Expo, although I will say that their badges have been so expensive. They don't do Black Friday sales anymore. I remember 2006, I think my badge was like $15. But Anime Expo is where you can meet pretty much like the big names. Like Crunchyroll is a vendor, like Bandai, like all the big names, Konami, Kotobukiya for figures, and like all of those like big vendors will have a booth in the exhibit hall, which is pretty insane. In terms of Artist Alley, I know a lot of people fly like from all over America to vend, even like outside of America to vend, so it's a big deal. In terms of cosplaying, it's a huge cosplaying convention. There's insane cosplays to see. People put together really great cosplay music videos that I like to watch. But essentially, there's this area that people like to call the Clout Garden, where there's like this big metal horseshoe statue by the parking garage between like the LA Convention Center and the Nokia Theater. It's just right next door. And so that's where a lot of like photographers set up shop, and like cosplayers come by to take photos. Obviously, Anime Expo is huge. I would easily give it an S tier. So I don't know what else to say. I said a lot, but I feel like I didn't need to, so. Alright, the next few conventions that I'm going to mention, I don't think exist anymore, which is fine. I feel like there wasn't really much to them anyway, so I'll try to go through them quickly. I do remember them happening during the summer. So the first one is Animanga, which I think would usually be like the end of July or early August, and it was in the same location as Anime Impulse in the Pomona Fairplex, which is where the LA County Fair is usually held. It would just be smaller. It felt honestly the same, like they would just have one building for Artist Alley, and then you just kind of hang out outside. They had a stage for like singers or performers, but there weren't that many. When I went, I think it was their first year, and I was like 2018 and I think in 2019 Connor or C-Dog VA was a guest, and I was really sad because I didn't go that year, so I didn't get to meet him. I would say the only pro is similar to Anime Impulse, is that there's a few cute photo op areas, but other than that, not much going on. I didn't really see how it grew in 2019, but I guess it doesn't matter because it doesn't really exist anymore. So I would give Animanga a B because it was its first time. I would say it had potential. The next one is, I think, happened in August, and it was called Anime California. It was held in the Burbank. So this Burbank location, I just didn't like it as a venue. I hope no one else in the future uses it because just the layout was so far away from each other if you wanted to check out other like rooms and stuff. Anime California didn't have much going on with it. It just felt like another small convention that people were trying to start. So yeah, there was just some artists and vendors, not really any big events. I wouldn't say there were any cute cosplay areas for cosplayers and photographers. I would give Anime California a D. I just really didn't like the venue, and there wasn't just really much happening. Also, it doesn't matter because I don't think they exist anymore. So the next one is Hentai Con. I don't remember what time of year this was, and I think it only happened once, and I think it was 2018 or so. And it was also at the Burbank location that I just mentioned that I hope no one else holds an event at anymore because the layout was weird. But same thing, there didn't seem to be much going on that I remember. There was like a small vendor hall, and the only thing memorable I have of this place was like one room they let you try like VR hentai games, and there was this guy trying it out, and you had like a blow-up doll and you can do things, and you just watched him. I mean, everybody was clothed, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but I didn't see anything obscene. It was just funny to like watch someone go through the motions. I would probably also give that con like a C or D. It only happened once and it disappeared. I think people were really pissed because it was supposed to happen again, and then the vendors and people who bought their tickets, I guess, never... I don't know. I actually don't know what happened, but I don't know if they got reimbursed or anything. So the next event is another dance or clubbing event, and I mentioned this event in my cosplay journey video, and this one is the level 3 event that happened in Long Beach, and I thought that one was pretty fun. That one occurred in like the fun area in Long Beach above Sevilla's. At the time it was really small, but it was its first time and it was growing. I think it had lots of potential, and I talked about it in that cosplay video, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But they invited Sahara and I to be dance guest performers, I guess, but the communication was really last minute, not very clear. They also changed the location, so now the venue was like in downtown LA somewhere, kind of sketchy, like not even in a busy part of downtown LA. It was kind of like off to some side secret dark alleyway. It wasn't well lit at all. The locker room or like storage area that they had us put our stuff wasn't even like behind a locked door. There was no door. It was just like upstairs in this open hallway that was really small. The pole that they rented out for us was really short, and I mentioned before that they could have rented Sahara's pole, so I don't know why they didn't. I mean, the main thing is like the vibes are different. I really liked the venue inside. It was furnished and it was like had fun lights, but I didn't like the way the owners of the event handled certain situations that happened. So on top of like their communication with us as like last minute performers and stuff. So it was fun to check out, but I don't know if I do it again. Otherwise, it's not really my thing to go out dancing and clubbing anymore. I feel like I'm getting too old for that. So I would give that event, I would give it a B because I did really like the Long Beach one. And I feel like they can learn from how the downtown LA one went and like what not to do. So I think there's potential for it to still be like a fun thing that happens a little more frequently compared to conventions that only happen like once a year. Alright, so in October, we also had Daisuki, and Daisuki is a anime rave. So if you're into EDM and raves and that, I think this is great for you. I personally am not into raves or EDM, but Sahara and I were able to be cosplay performers, which was really fun. So I got to experience my first anime rave. Sahara and I were both Liz Kyun, which is one of Marin's cosplays in My Dress Up Darling. We both already had that cosplay, and the theme for Daisuki was like Oni themed or like demon themed. It worked out perfectly. That's what the organizer for the event wanted us to do. So other things at the anime rave that they had were like Oni maids, which was pretty cute. I didn't really get to explore much else because I was like nervous getting ready to perform. But I saw that there were also like some arcade setups, which was pretty cool and fun. What I was confused about was where the anime came in. I would say like in terms of music, I think I only heard one Attack on Titan instrumental throughout the whole rave. And to me, as a weeb, like I love anime openings and endings and OSTs, and I was just waiting to hear them mix it up in some EDM style, but there wasn't really much to it, so I'm not sure exactly how it's an anime rave. In terms of cosplaying, like any other clubbing event that I had mentioned before, just comfortably if you want to cosplay because you would be dancing on your feet a lot. I would rank Daisuke a B. I did have fun as guest performers, and I also got to hang out with my friends. Other than that, like, raves aren't really my thing, so if I wasn't a performer, I wouldn't really go, but hit us up if you want us to perform again. Okay, so now we're in November, and the first convention is usually Anime Pasadena, which is the same group that does Anime Riverside that I mentioned earlier in June. And so again, this group tends to have their conventions to be voice actor heavy, so depending on who is their guest at the time, you can check their Instagram because they're pretty good at posting about it, but you could get to meet the English dub of your favorite character in a certain anime or video game. I won't talk too much about their artist alley because I think it's a pretty good setup. I didn't really get to go to the last one because I came really late and I only went for one day. Similarly with Anime Riverside, I would just go one day because it's not a huge convention, but I would say it's a pretty decent size. I wouldn't say it's super tiny. It's definitely grown. And also I was trying to save money at this point because I had shopped a lot at Anime Expo already and was trying to recover. Okay, the main thing I want to talk about Pasadena is that the location is really pretty. So it's at the Pasadena Convention Center or Conference Center, which is across the street from their downtown area, or as we like to call it, Old Town Pasadena. Like, food is really accessible. It's just across the street. In terms of the buildings in Pasadena as a neighborhood or city in general, they have really beautiful brick buildings. And so the convention center has some of that. They have pretty wooden doors that people like to take photos at, some tall stairs, lots of trees. A really big favorite spot that people like to go to is the Pasadena City Hall, which is just a few minute drive down the street. I'm pretty sure you can walk there, but if you're in cosplay, it's probably not really comfortable, but it's super nearby and super pretty. Personally have done quite a few photo shoots over there and other cosplays outside of convention days. In terms of cosplay and photography, all of that is outdoors, so I'd say you wouldn't even need a badge unless you wanted to go in and see the voice actors and artist alley, vendor halls and stuff. I don't really remember what big events they have otherwise or panels, but yeah, I would say if you just like to hang out with your cosplay and photographer friends, this is a great place to do it because everyone's mostly outside. So for Anime Pasadena, they do have an after party, but it's not free like Anime Los Angeles is. It's a separate ticket that you have to buy. But Sahara and I were invited by the Snow Bunnies, which is I think the same group that did H Night, and they were also guests at level 3. But essentially they're a group of the bunny girls that you get to meet and play games with. The after party is obviously like 18 plus. They had the separate Snow Bunny lounge area set up, and we were able to put our pole there, which is like a VIP rope area, which was pretty cool. Sahara and I had prepared a cyberpunk cosplay performance where she was Lucy and I was Rebecca, which were cosplays we already had, which worked out perfectly. But at this point, we had already done 3 events together, which is great. It's been so fun, and we have so many more planned for you guys. So if you are interested in that, stay tuned. I'm hoping to vlog more. Those will also be posted on our Bishoujo account. Sahara and I have a cosplay duo page on Instagram called bishoujo.burlesque. So if you're interested in our cosplay performances, check that out. Back to Anime Pasadena. I would give Anime Pasadena an A. I would say mostly because of the venue location and all the photo op areas that you're able to do, and the variety of it, and the city hall being really close by. From a cosplayer point of view, I highly recommend Anime Pasadena. So usually the week after Anime Pasadena in November is Anime Expo Chibi, which I'm not really sure why Anime Expo felt so inclined to create another convention that was just smaller with its Anime Expo name, but it just felt like any other small convention trying to do something. I feel like if you're going to be making an anime convention nowadays, it really needs to like have something it's focusing on. So for example, like Anime Impulse events are more VTuber heavy. Anime Riverside and Anime Pasadena are really like VA heavy, voice actor heavy. Some things are like hentai or 18 plus focused. And obviously Anime Los Angeles or ALA and Anime Expo are both like the bigger cons that we have in LA. So they kind of have their own like lasting reputation that they've had, lots of events that they have going on, and guests that they fly out. But Anime Expo Chibi, I feel like didn't have to do that. It's held in the Ontario Convention Center, which is where ALA used to be, so lots of people are familiar with that convention center. In terms of events, it's nothing really comparable to like what AX has. I went once last year or 2023, and I only went for one day. It's pretty small. I'd say one day is enough. I didn't even go last year, 2024, because it would just feel pretty redundant. There's nothing that kind of sets it apart, to be honest. I would give Anime Expo Chibi a C because I feel like they didn't really need to do all that. Now we're in December. Speaking of Christmas, we don't really have any Christmas cons that I mentioned, but there was this mall event that I went to called Anime Night Mart, which I think has held events a couple times throughout the year, but this time it was also in December. And so at the mall, they usually put trees like at any mall. And I also found out that this mall has a merry-go-round, and I love merry-go-rounds and I love Christmas. And so in terms of photo op areas, those were really great photo op areas. I did a Christmas fern and one of my friends did a Christmas free run, so we had some cute photos there. But again, like I mentioned, I'm not really a fan of mall events. I will say that I was really impressed with their artist alley and vendor lineup. They did have a lot of artists and booths. I would say that I was a little disappointed in their cosplay contest and like stage setup. It was just super unorganized, but I feel like there's not so much you can do when you like host a small event at a mall and then it's kind of bigger than you thought it would be. Anime Night Mart, I would give a D just because I still don't really like mall events. I would say that one was pretty solid. It's just not my thing. Definitely check it out though. There were a lot of vendors. This last convention that I went to, I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist anymore either, but I'm putting it in here because it happened in December. It's Kara Expo, which is short for character. I don't remember where it was held, but it was like a plethora of things. It wasn't really anime specific. It was more so like just pop culture things that Japan had, all of its subcultures and things. And one of the main things I remember, they had a wrestling box roped area, and they had like these two women wrestlers from Japan in like kawaii outfits wrestling like WWE style. So I thought that was super cool. I should really find out what that term is because I kind of want to like get into it and like watch it more and like follow someone and be a fan of someone in it because it's pretty cool. So I went, I think, back in 2019, just before 2020 and the world is ending, so that was so long ago, and I don't think they've ever brought it back. But I would give that event a D because it was kind of confusing what it was trying to be. I think it was trying to be everything, and it was also its first time, so not many people knew about it. Okay, so that was like 20-ish anime conventions and events. So that's in terms of LA. I know that Hentai Matsuri in San Diego has their own anime conventions as well, but I haven't checked them out, but I think it's the same group that kind of does all of them down there in San Diego. But yeah, let me know your favorite conventions, whether you're from LA or not, especially if you're out of state. I would love to hear what your favorite conventions, local, small conventions, big conventions that you recommend from out of state in your state. I would love to hear people's con experiences from a different point of view as well. If you're not a cosplayer, what's it like? As a photographer, what do you look for in a con to want to go to it? As an artist vendor, what do you look for in terms of their artist alley setup? I think those are some pretty cool things to think about in terms of being in this con community. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you made it this far, that's awesome. And I hope to see you in the next side quest. Bye!